call has been made for a collaboration between the federal government and oil-producing states of the Niger Delta as an effective way of tackling the menace of crude oil theft and saving the Nigerian economy. This was the focus of a meeting in Yenagoa, the Bayelsa State capital, between Bayelsa State Governor Duye Diri and a federal government delegation led by the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timipre Silva. Arise correspondent Ovieteme George reports.
The Nigerian economy is in dire straits, and the federal government attributes it largely to crude oil theft in the Niger Delta, with an estimated loss of $1 billion in revenue in the first quarter of 2022. While Nigeria's output plunges dangerously low, the country has struggled to meet its quota of 1.799 million barrels per day set by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. The Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Timipre Silva, is leading a federal government delegation to oil-producing states to halt the erosion of the nation's wealth. From Delta, the team moves to Bayelsa and meets with Governor Duye Diri with the issue on the front burner.
We are losing close to $2 billion every month as a result of the actions of these vandals and these criminals. Not necessarily stolen, but because we cannot continue to operate, we have shut down our facilities. Investment can no longer come. Nobody will come and put his money into our country as we go forward. It is important we collaborate, and we are counting on your support and every other state governors across the oil-producing states to bring this to an end.
State governor, the government itself, and everyone within the state have one role to play in ensuring that speedily we bring this madness to an end, so that not just the federal government deriving greater benefits, but equally the state and the local government and the various communities will see the whole essence of the new idea that has been expanded in the PIA. For anyone perhaps who do not want to toe the line of reason, then of course they will be seeing the wrath of the military and other security agencies.
And I think this is precisely.
Both parties expressed commitment to work for the improvement of the fortunes of Africa's largest oil-producing country.
It has led to some unknown diseases and sicknesses. Much as it affects the federal government and the state governments, it affects the communities. It affects the people living there. And in fact, if we don't stop it, it will lead to our communities becoming extinct. And so I assure you that I will collaborate, and we will collaborate to ensure that this oil theft is brought to an end. But more of reasoning with those who are involved.
It is to ensure that the state governments and the federal government collaborate to fight this issue of oil theft. Stealing is actually going on in the communities and in states. So we felt that we must bring everybody on board so that we are able to effectively fight this menace. At this moment, our production has been very badly compromised. We cannot even talk about attracting investors in a scenario where oil that is being produced by investors is being stolen by others. So we have to ensure that we tackle this issue, and that's why we've come. And of course, the governor has been very gracious. All the governors we have visited have been gracious, and they have committed to working together with the federal government to ensure that this problem is tackled expeditiously.
Nigeria is expected to meet its target of 1.826 million barrels per day as OPEC quota for August and 1.830 million barrels per day for September. Ovieteme George, Arise News.
Joining us now to provide much-needed perspective on this matter is Dr. Fawibe, Group Chairman and Chief Executive Officer, International Energy Services Limited. Welcome, sir. Dr. Fawibe, for joining us on this program. Well, Dr. Fawibe, you have been in this space for forever. You have been there forever. Now, the head of the upstream regulatory agency is advising the federal government of Nigeria that the way forward is to declare a state of emergency on crude oil theft. Would that help? Do you think that is a feasible proposition?
Thank you very much, Ruben. Well, when the regulatory commission, the people who should know the gravity and the dimension of the theft going on, now openly declare that the federal government to come out with a declaration of a state of emergency in the oil-producing state to arrest the menace of oil theft, then everybody should now think that the matter has reached a very serious dimension. Many stakeholders, in the private sector, or even some public sectors, some other people in the country have been talking about the president, declaring state of emergency. But now, if the commission, the government commission, those people charged with the responsibility of regulating the oil and gas industry are now having the same opinion, I believe the federal government should take it very seriously. The issue of oil theft in Nigeria has become a menace. This started like a small crime, by some people stealing probably some hundreds of barrels of oil, but it's now gone to a wanton destruction of the environment apart from the stealing. And it's about time that effective measures have to be taken. Given the intro about the governors and the Minister of State going around to pledge the support of federal government to work with the state government to arrest this menace, I think it's, in the past, in this country, we often talk a lot, but not much we tend to achieve thereafter. It's not just a question of talking. It's a question of action. What will government do to be able to arrest this situation? According to the Mr. Gbenga Komolafe, in one address he made where he was calling for the state of emergency, he enumerated some of the measures being taken by government. But be that as it may, I feel that the president, even though he retired from the Nigerian army as a crack soldier, even at the point be a GOC of a division, and perform a lot of things for Nigeria army when he was during the Civil War and after. Before he became Minister for Petroleum in 1976, he knew precisely what it means to arrest situations by security agencies. So he should now take it upon himself that this is a problem that requires his attention. When Chief Obasanjo was talking about some of the areas where he expected the president, or he can vouch for the president, security is one of the is a major issue that when it comes to the economy, he will put a question mark, or he will say that he might not be able to perform as much as in the area of security. But if the president cannot arrest the issue of security, particularly in the area that is very, very key to the survival of this country as an oil-producing country, then I will be wondering what legacy the president is going to leave after the expiration of his tenure. So
are you saying?
On that ground, I would say, yes.
No, please go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir. I wanted to ask you a question. Yeah. Please go ahead.
I would say that the president should take it upon himself and give the marching order and see that the security agencies, are taking effective measures. It's not tackling the matter with a kid glove now. This calls for serious action, right from the president to the security agencies, and it should not accept any excuse whatsoever, because if the security agencies, do their job, the oil companies, even the governors, even though the governors are said to be security in charge of security of their state, they don't have army. At times, even the police at times ignore the directives of governors. So all these matters are within the province of the federal government, and to that extent, federal government of Nigeria will now take action, serious action, to ensure that this menace is stopped.
Okay.
Immediate effect, or like Elaine used to say, automatic alacrity.
Yes, Dr. Fawibe, two quick things. One, you seem to be saying, and if I'm wrong, if I misunderstood you, that this president, who has been in this space before, Minister of Petroleum, head of state, now head of state, president for a second time, has failed in addressing a very important issue. The second leg of it would seem to be that, look, the upstream agency, the NNPC, they are saying that the community should be part of it. Now, what can the communities do? Because as you speak, oil theft, surveillance contracts have been handed over to Tumpolo, which has generated, reactions from the amalgamated trustees of Arewa youths, as they are otherwise called. And the Niger Delta youths are saying, if the Arewa youths, if they say anything about surveillance projects, that will cause serious problems. So, as President Buhari failed, given his past records, and is it right to give out surveillance contracts?
Well, Ruben, I will not say that the president has failed. It will be too much by my mouth to say the president has failed. In order for the president not to fail, that is why we are saying this. And it can still arrest the situation. It can still take effective measures to ensure that the situation is brought under control. Normally, the government, the federal government, the state government, and even the local government and the communities, to work together. It shouldn't be said, it's needless to say, because in your intro, there was a report about the problem, environmental problem being caused by this theft. And part of the fallout of the theft is illegal refinery going on. I read in the newspaper a few days ago that about 50 illegal refineries were destroyed. And that has been an ongoing thing. Federal government has not been able to tackle realistically the Ogoni cleanup as one expected, or one would expect, especially at the launching of the cleanup. But the whole of Niger Delta, if care is not taken, it will be completely devastated or degraded that to the point that the people of Niger Delta will suffer a lot, similar to what is happening in Ogoniland. So we should not allow the environment to be degraded too much beyond what it is now. And the community, they should rise up by themselves to know that they are killing their people by installment. So if federal government or state government did not talk to them, they should even take it upon themselves. And the local government, so the oil companies, over time has been doing a lot. But as you know, there's not much the operators can do. I will say this to you, that ever since the time of Abacha, when some of the oil companies were accused of complicity in in what was going on there that led to the problem that whereby that Nobel laureate, Ken was killed. No oil company, major oil company, will dabble into providing security beyond the premises of their operation. So safeguarding the oil producing area is the responsibility of government, whether federal government and state government. After all, people used to fight a lot to say they want to bring government to the nearest the people, and that's why they were talking about local government. Yes, you mentioned about contracts, about surveillance contracts. As far as I'm concerned, surveillance contract is almost becoming irrelevant and useless, because at the time it was launched, one expected that this will help to tackle the problem, and those who are engaged in this act of oil theft, wanton destruction of the environment, will be able to be checked properly. But if we are spending as much as 4 billion, over 4 billion naira for this surveillance contract, and we are having this kind of situation whereby the stealing of oil will not allow Nigeria to meet its OPEC quota. Currently, OPEC has allowed us about 1.8 million barrels per day, and Nigeria is barely producing over 1 billion barrels. In the past, we used to talk about windfall profit, over oil. I will take your mind back to the era of one of the regime whereby we were talking about over $12 billion of windfall, which became a controversial issue. But today, we can never talk about windfall because we are not in a position to produce enough and take advantage of the current oil price in the world market. We know what Saudi Arabia is doing with its own windfall, but Nigeria, like somebody said, that what is the windfall we are talking about? We are declaring oil theft, vandalization of the pipelines, and so on. So it's a very serious issue, and that any right-taking Nigeria should be angry, not just be upset about what is currently going on in the Niger Delta. And it's about time that the collaboration being sought by the state government, with the federal government, and the communities should be made effective. But more importantly, the president will not go carry guns to Niger Delta. He has to use security agencies. And in this particular situation, I'm not too sure the security agencies can acquit themselves from what is happening, on this matter.
Okay.
So if they are not complicit, in what is going on, then I don't know what to say.
Okay, Dr. Fawibe, the peg for this was the International Conference of Energy Correspondents, National Association of Energy Correspondents. And the theme was strictly energy transition and the future of oil and gas in Nigeria. What do you think of the future of oil and gas in Nigeria?
Well, a situation where in the world, we are talking about transition. In fact, if it were not for the Ukraine and Russian war, which of course is making the West to torpedo in its advocacy that fossil fuels should be discarded completely. You recall that the Vice President, Professor Oshibajo, was engaged in a campaign that at least the West should encourage the investment into gas development, and if ever they are not giving consideration to development of oil, in developing countries, particularly in Africa. Today, we can boast of still having about 36 billion barrels of reserve, if not 37. And we are still aiming to have as much as 40 billion barrels, because there's still a lot of oil in the deep water terrain of this country. Okay, so if we are not developing this oil and we are not producing it, then what are we going to do with the oil? Are we going to drink it or leave it in the ground? But when it comes to the issue of gas, we used to, at least we have been claiming that we have over 200 trillion cubic feet of gas reserve in this country, even though at times you tend to wonder why we could not use the gas. Somebody was talking about getting about 1 TCF, 1 trillion cubic feet of gas for gas project, and it was running all over the place. But be that as it may, we should still be able to use gas for development,
okay,
for industrialization.
Okay, doctor.
Which is part of the energy transition we are talking about.
Okay, doctor. In just 1 minute or less, do you share the view that this problem we have with crude oil theft is the result of the fact that there is an organized mafia in Nigeria working against Nigeria, colluding, conniving with international interests to sabotage Nigeria? How do we address that? If you agree that that's the problem we have. Quickly, we got to go.
I agree with you. I agree with you without any reservation, because, and this mafia, the backbone of this mafia should be broken. Because this is a very serious issue for our economy. It's a great sabotage. And if we are in a democratic dispensation, of course, we still have to follow the rule of law, you know, in apprehending and punishing those who are engaged in this act. So, but one curious thing which I want to say is that with all the theft going on, the security agencies have not apprehended anybody and hand over the group of people to for prosecution. And nobody, you know, we can be talking about some small petty thieves and here and there, but when it comes to this serious issue, you know, bringing tankers, you know, damaging the pipeline, and there is no serious investor who will put money in development of oil and gas in Nigeria with this kind of thing going on. You remember one prominent independent company led by that respected, you know, Nigerian banker, who is now operating OMS 17, cried out about the oil theft going on in the country. And if we are now saying the international companies cannot bring money, what of Nigerians, you know, who are having the heart of lion, you know, investing in the oil and gas industry, and they are now sabotaging their investment? What do they expect them to do? And they don't have a deep pocket like the international oil companies. And that is why some of the companies are divesting from Nigeria. So it goes to show that the future of Nigeria oil and gas industry is very dim. And unless we arrest it, if the IOCs leave Nigeria, will Nigerians leave the country? And who else is going to develop the oil and gas?
Okay, thank you.
Or we just pack it up and say that, no, we don't have any future for oil and gas.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Fawibe. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.